Overcoming the fear of vulnerability as a CEO. Does being vulnerable as a CEO feel risky? Many leaders feel that showing vulnerability will make them appear weak, but the truth is, vulnerability is your greatest strength. In this video, I'll share how to overcome the fear of vulnerability and why it's key to authentic, impactful leadership. Hi everyone, I'm Selena Elamoon, an intuitive business coach. I help heart-centered leaders and CEOs to embrace their authentic power. In 11 years of coaching, I've seen how vulnerability transforms leadership. I still remember the time when I used to run these huge events and everyone thought I was a superhero for pulling them off. But inside, I felt weak, I felt alone, and I felt unsupported. I was a total mess, and I was too proud to share my experience. Because as a CEO, you're expected to be confident, and you're expected to be in control. But in trying to project strength, you might be hiding the very qualities that inspire trust and connection in your team. So today, we'll dive into why vulnerability is essential, some of the fears that hold many leaders back, and 3 practical ways to embrace vulnerability without losing your authority. So, why is vulnerability such a superpower as a leader? Vulnerability isn't about oversharing or appearing helpless. It's actually about being authentic, owning your imperfections, and creating space for genuine connection. When you show vulnerability, you build trust, inspire loyalty, and create a culture where your team feels safe to take risks and be innovative. Brené Brown, who I had the pleasure of seeing on stage, says that vulnerability is not a weakness. It's our greatest measure of courage. And as a CEO, your willingness to be vulnerable shows true strength. Some of the common fears around vulnerability include a fear of appearing weak. Many CEOs think that vulnerability will undermine their authority, but in reality, it shows emotional intelligence and courage. So you can reframe this to realizing that admitting you don't have all the answers actually opens the door for collaboration and growth. Some also fear losing respect. Leaders often worry that their team will lose confidence in them if they don't actually show up as a superhero. And the counterpoint to this is that when you're authentic, people respect you more because they know that you're human and that you're relatable. Some also fear judgment or even rejection. You might fear criticism, for example, for showing your true self, especially in high-stake environments. But vulnerability actually disarms judgment. It invites understanding and deepens connection. So here's 3 ways to embrace vulnerability. First, start small and lead by example. You don't have to share everything all at once. Start with small moments of honesty, like admitting a mistake, or even asking for feedback. I remember once I was afraid to admit to a CEO that I was working with that even though I was empowering her to create healthier boundaries, I myself was struggling with that too personally. And when I did open up about it, we had a really productive conversation and an honest conversation that led to both of us having a major breakthrough that day. Another thing you can do is to reframe your vulnerability as a strength. Shift your mindset. Vulnerability isn't a liability, it's a leadership skill. So when you share a challenge, focus on how you're working through it. This shows resilience while maintaining transparency. The third way is to build emotional safety within your team. Fostering a culture of trust makes it easier to be vulnerable as a leader. So here's an action step. You can encourage your team to share ideas without fear of judgment. When they see you model openness, they're going to follow suit. Here's a real-life example of vulnerability in leadership. So Howard Schultz, the former CEO of Starbucks, openly discussed his struggles growing up and the lessons that he learned from his failures. This authenticity made his leadership more relatable and inspiring. One client I coached was terrified to admit that they needed help restructuring their company. And when they finally shared their challenges with their team, not only did they get incredible support, but their team's morale and respect for them actually ended up skyrocketing. So how can we overcome setbacks while being vulnerable? Yes, being vulnerable can feel uncomfortable or even risky at times, but discomfort is where growth happens. If you face criticism or resistance, remind yourself that vulnerability is about aligning with your truth, not pleasing everyone. So I want to know something from you. What's one way that you've shown vulnerability as a leader? Or what is it that holds you back? Please share in the comments below. I'd love to hear your thoughts. And if you're ready to embrace authentic leadership with more vulnerability, you can email me to book a consultation call on how I can support you through a personalized coaching session. My email address is actually in the description below. And I just want you to remember that vulnerability isn't a weakness. It's the key to deeper connections, stronger leadership, and greater impact. When you embrace vulnerability, you give yourself permission and your team permission to grow, innovate, and thrive together. And that, my friends, is the mark of a truly great leader. Thanks for watching. Hey, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you're interested in more transformational content for CEOs, be sure to click on the link in the description box below. You will get access to all of my free live upcoming webinars where I help support you at a deeper level. See you then.